Hi, I am Connie Zack, co-owner of Sunlighten, and I am thrilled today to bring you our Sunlighten Spotlight with an amazing guest who, just by listening to her sound of her voice, puts me in a relaxation state. So I can't wait to hear all of her tips. So I am welcomed today by Sunlighten's just favorite yoga meditation expert, Elena Brower. She's a mom, she is an artist, she is a best-selling author, she is a host of the Practice You podcast, and she has been teaching yoga and meditation for over 20 plus years, since 1999, the same year that we started Sunlighten, which I thought was really
I didn't
interesting.
know
Yeah,
that.
so we started together. So,
Wow.
how are you? Welcome, Elena Brower, to Sunlighten Spotlight. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you, Connie. I am well. I am happy. I am saunaed. And I am ready to chat with you about my love for your product always. The sauna has become a very big part of my self healing. And I am in there at least 3 times a week, usually more. It is a tremendous aspect of my working through menopause, um, of my healing in recovery, and overall, just my state of mind. So thank you for the work that you continue to do.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for sharing, your story. And I do want to later talk about um, your experience with menopause, because we get a
Yeah.
lot of questions at Sunlighten about that, and we don't have a ton. We're a science-based company. We don't have a ton of data, so I want to come back to that. But first, I really want to start with hearing more about what inspired you. I mean, you've been doing this as long as we've been doing Sunlighten. What inspired you to start researching and getting into the yoga and meditation field?
A boyfriend's mom took me to a class, and right after we graduated from college, it was 1992. We were basically living between. I was living between my parents' house in Long Island and his mom's house in New York City, and it was kind of a big transition after leaving upstate New York, in the beauty and the trees. And she said, "Let's go to yoga." And so we went. And I fell instantly in love with the practice, the teacher, the class, the moves, the everything about it was so different for me than what I was used to in group classes. I had been going to ballet for a really long time.
Mm.
And it was all like, yes, no, no, you're doing it wrong. Do it different, that sort of thing. And in this class, it was like beautiful. And now lift a little higher. It was always just an enhancement, not a you're doing this wrong. I felt so supported, and I said to myself, someday I'll teach this. I'll do something with it. I don't know yet. And then, sure enough, it came true. Probably 5 or 6 years later, I was in a class, and the teacher said that she was about to do a teacher training, and would I be interested in joining? And of course, I was. And the rest was history. That was 1997, 1998.
And then did yoga lead into meditation? Or tell me about where you became in love with teaching meditation, because you are truly a beautiful teacher of what I think is a very difficult skill. It's very difficult for people to receive it, and I mean all of that. So I'd love to know that story.
Sure. That first teacher training was taught by Cindy Lee, and her focus was Tibetan Buddhism.
Mhm.
And at the time, it didn't resonate for me at all. But I did get to be introduced to a woman by the name of Joan Halifax. She's an incredible author. If you haven't read her books, The Fruitful Darkness, Standing at the Edge, um, Being with Dying, really an incredible, impressive woman of pure service. And I met her back then, but I didn't like resonate then, but I knew I would come back. Cut to about 22 years later, I have now gone through many different teachers and traditions and tried to meditate. And the only tradition in which I've been meditating very regularly for the last 3 years is with Zen Buddhism. Roshi Joan Halifax has become my teacher, and her teachers, whom she has trained, are also my teachers. Meditation was not easy for me for a long time, as it is not easy for most people. One must commit to one's healing in order to commit to sitting. And it's hard to commit to our healing because we're so accustomed to being in a state of stress. And I mean this cellularly, and I mean this emotionally, and I mean it mentally. But when we commit to that state of healing, all it is really, sitting down for a set period of time and knowing that as you sit and you focus on your breathing, your entire body is marshaling every force and energy toward healing. It is just what naturally happens when you sit still and you focus on your breathing. That's why I love the sauna, because it's the same exact story. I'm just sitting still and focusing on my breathing, and I know that my body is initiating a natural cascade of healing chemistry while I'm in there. And it's the same with meditation. So that's how it happened. And now I have a pretty much twice a day practice, definitely always in the morning, sometimes also in the afternoon. And it is most definitely a cause of really graceful maturity that I have experienced in my body, and a cause of peace in my body that I have never known previously in quite this way.
That is beautiful. Well, I had the great pleasure of doing one of your classes, and if you
Mm.
would be so kind to take us through a quick one. What I've learned, from you is it doesn't have to be, a long period of time. And I'd love you to, if you're open to it, I'd love you to take everybody through a quick meditation. And then I'd love you to also speak about that whole resistance because of time, and kind of, how you coach somebody to take the time to do it. So it's all
Cool.
you.
Yes, and yes, I will do both. I'm gonna say first and after what I think about the whole time business. I don't have the time not to do meditation, and I found that when I do meditate, even if it's a day when I know I have to, manage something for my kid and I didn't wake up early enough, which
Mhm.
happens, we're human beings, I'll sit for 5 minutes. I will take those 5 minutes to just track my breathing, maybe say a couple of vows, and, to myself quietly in the silence. I'll place a stick of incense where it's meant to be on my little altar, and just listen for a little while. That is exactly the invitation to what we'll do here together. And then we'll talk again about the resistance afterwards, because the resistance is real and we think we're too busy, but really we shouldn't be living without it. Once you start to practice, you'll see why. So no need to close your eyes. If you'd like to leave your eyes open, you totally may.
Okay.
In fact, in the tradition that I study and practice, keeping one's eyes open helps one to stay present in reality in the moment. And
Okay.
that is the point. But you can close your eyes if you wish. And I would like for you to just begin by listening to the sound of your breathing. And you don't need to change it much at all. And just track the breathing as it flows in through your nostrils, down into your belly. And then as it flows out from your nostrils into the room, you'll notice each successive breath gets a little bit more deep and full inside of your belly. And with each exhalation, you can actually bring your navel back toward your spine and really contract it so that you're really emptying out with that exhale. And track about 3 more breaths here. And you'll notice that you have increasing capacity as you continue to breathe. Good. Now continue to breathe for the next 5 to 10 breaths. And to gather your attention. Perhaps you've got some attention over there in that work matter, or some attention over there in your family, one of your kids, your parent. Gather it in with each inhalation. And as you exhale, let that attention settle into the ground of your being. And take a few moments to recall why you sit at all. It really is to stabilize your attention so that you can be present for your life, for the people in your life. You sit so that you can steady your mind, so that you can feel more stable in your mental being. And perhaps also you sit so that you can smooth out the waves of your emotional body. And feeling with each successive breath as those waves gently ease. Recalling your intention helps to really steep you in purpose while you track your breathing. Notice that it gets easier for you to just feel where you are. You can attune to yourself more readily now. You know, today's a hard day. Today's a pretty good day. Attuning to yourself is an art and a practice and a skill that we develop. And once we've attuned to ourselves, only in moments, it just takes a couple moments, you can really consider what will serve. You've got that situation that you gathered your attention in from. What might serve there? And in this sitting, as your body is healing, as your cells are nurturing themselves from the inside out, you can actually feel into solutions. I'm not saying think the whole time, but you can consider what might serve in that point in your life where things are a little vexing. And then you can return your attention to your breathing. And know that things will always work out the way that they're meant to. And then to close our sitting, we have 2 tasks. The first is to, upon that consideration of what might serve, really just picture yourself sorting that thing out, having that conversation, maybe delivering an apology or some forgiveness. And then dedicate any merit gained in this very short sitting, any healing gained in this short sitting, to someone in need, someone who isn't doing so well, or someone who doesn't have this practice so near at hand, someone who's ill, someone who's making their transition out of this life. And that dedication of merit is a beautiful way to close this particular sitting. We begin to open your eyes. Bless. and come back to the room.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So this is the first time that I've done that with my eyes open, and it was one of my questions I had when I was doing it earlier is I wonder what, her advice is. And I did find very interesting. I found that I felt centered, like more like I
Yeah.
didn't find myself, which is it's counterintuitive, I feel. But yes, I didn't feel my brain going all these different ways where when I try and do, you know, it by myself and I close my eyes, I find my brain wandering. Yes. So that was really fascinating. If anybody is listening who hasn't done it and has never done it, especially with their eyes wide open, I
Yeah.
highly encourage it. That was beautiful. That was wonderful. And I just can't wait to do it again at my sauna. So, because it's a
So
great,
nice.
yeah, and it's such a great way. I'm really into this whole concept of habit stacking and being able to be efficient.
Yes.
And, because I have two kids and, I just, it's like, you try, I have that thought all the time. Like, I wish I would have, awoke. I wish I would have waken up like 30 minutes earlier and I could have got the, that stuff done. And so what a great tip is to take that mindset and put it, sit in the sauna and just get refocused. I love it. I love it.
Exactly right.
So what is your
Exactly right.
thought on giving people tips for resistance?
The resistance is natural. We were all raised. If you're watching this, you were raised by somebody. Get this, stay with me. Who was raised by somebody who had been through the Second World War. Okay, so you're 2 generations away. It's a very short amount of time, and that whole generation was so focused on productivity and on results, on accomplishments, and we're still kind of in that zone a little bit, a lot bit. Introduced the internet, and then it's all about checking the box off and getting it done and succeeding, and there's no prioritization on the cultivation of yin energy. There's no prioritization on the cultivation of silence. It just doesn't happen in the mainstream. And so the challenge for us is to learn how to prioritize silence as much as we prioritize accomplishment. Learn how to prioritize just truly quiet time, healing time, as much as we prioritize, I wrote my next course, I wrote another book, I'm making more money now. Like none of that actually comes unless there is a prioritization of your own quiet. At least I have found. And that's the proposition. Rather than focusing on, of course you have resistance. Like, okay, instead of focusing on that, why don't we just focus on what is the priority? And that's just some quiet time for your cells to rejuvenate, truly.
I love it. So if somebody wants to take this and they like what and do it with you, obviously not with you, but like listening to you, like how do they
Mhm.
get to you and how do they are able to take this content and like into their sauna and do meditation with Elena?
It's pretty easy, actually. And I've been thinking about putting you guys in touch. For 12 years, I've been with glow.com, GLO.com. And I teach exclusively on that platform meditation, yoga, and now we're moving into a ridiculously beautiful sleep program that's about to
Mm,
come in.
yay, it's
That
one of my
sleep
favorite
program,
topics.
yeah, I know. And I can see that being very useful in the sauna. So people can actually just log on to glow.com. Uh, you can actually, I'll give you a link that we can put below this broadcast so that they can get 7 days free.
Perfect.
Yes. And then you can try it out and see if it's for you. There's lots of audio on there, meditations that you can just listen to in your ears. And there's, of course, other practices that are physical movement that you can watch on video. When I teach for Glow, I teach twice a week. And I try really hard to teach as though somebody couldn't see me. You know what I mean? So there's
Yeah,
enough instruction for you to take the classes. If you're watching us right now, there's enough instruction for you to take my classes without needing to see what I'm doing. So just so you know that that's a possibility to try.
that's great. So glow.com.
'Cause I think it would be nice for your people to have a 7 days free kind of option. So it's very sweet.
Yes. No, that would be terrific. I mean, I know people are gonna watch this and think, how can I, can I connect with her? How can I get more of what we
That's
just
very
went
sweet.
through? And
Very
that's the main venue, correct? And then and they can try 7 days for free
Mhm.
and then decide whether you want, more. You do meditation and yoga on there on Glow?
Yes, yes, as I, noted, I do both audio meditation and I do video yoga, and so you'll see both there, and if you would like to learn more about the courses that I teach, the mentorship that I host, I have a every year, I have a year-long, mentorship portal. All of that is at my website, elenabrower.com, and you can get connected to Glow through that site as well. ELENABROWER.com.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. I know people will want to do that. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of
So,
course, of
what
course.
other tips do you have for really helping people get into the right? To me, so much is mindset. It completely is mindset. And how do you guide somebody to um, to try and reduce the amount of noise and stress, especially right now it's, in the holiday season and people are gonna be watching, they've got a gazillion things going on. What are some tips that you have for people?
So I always look to the source of the time continuum, and that's your calendar.
Mhm,
As you said, if or as I said also, if you don't wake up a little bit earlier, it's hard to find that silent time during the day.
mhm,
So I really make it a point to wake up at least a half an hour to an hour earlier than my child and my partner. I have meditation time. I have workout time. It is just the holiest, best, most fun. Nobody's around. Nobody's talking. I am completely in silence and doing what I wish.
mhm,
And, I don't think there's anything more valuable than that.
mhm,
I truly don't. I think there's a whole schedule in front of you if you're watching or listening. There's a whole schedule in front of you that you've designed. And I would dare you, with a smile on my face, to look at that schedule and think, okay, you know, what are those things that I don't actually like doing those things.
mhm,
I'm going to take those two things off of my weekly schedule and I'm going to put in this movement that I want to be doing on a daily basis, this meditation I want to do, this sauna time. I
mhm,
have specific times that I know I'm going into the sauna every Saturday and Sunday, every Tuesday morning. There's no question, and then other times, perhaps, yes, but those are my
mhm,
times. And it's so nice to keep one's, schedule very, sacrosanct, and
mhm,
really respect it because you've
mhm,
designed it yourself.
mhm. I love that. I love that advice. I love the morning um, advice just in general, because I mean, there's just some sense of peace and calm when have time to yourself and it's quiet. I loved your comment about silence. I do think people in general struggle with the concept of silence. Even with the sauna I hear, they're like, "Oh, I love it because I can go in there and I can listen to this and I can, you know, do all these things," which is great for, for what I like to do as well. But sometimes it's just really great to, not hear anything, but the sound of your breath. Um, and like I always, 100% of the time, always feel more energetic when I have taken the time to do even a very quick, like you have a 2-minute, meditation on glow.com. And that was just so amazing. It's like, oh my gosh, it was gone. It was done in 2 minutes. I'm like, where did the time go? It was amazing. So I just really, I echo in your comments about the mindset of, I can't imagine not doing it, right?
Mhm.
Versus resisting the fact of, oh, it just doesn't work for me and everything. Well, I just want to encourage people to try it. And your offer of about 7 days free is amazing because then they can
Yeah.
see, you know.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that is now non-negotiable, officially non-negotiable in my life, and it's really made me a better parent, better friend, better daughter, better partner, you know?
What work are you doing towards sleep? Can you give us any insight on that? As far as you said you were working on some stuff. It's okay if you
Yes.
can't, but I'm just curious.
No, that's fine, that's fine. I'm working with Glow on creating a really beautiful, very potent 30-day sleep program
Oh,
where
beautiful.
my voice puts you to sleep every night for
Oh,
30
it's
days.
beautiful.
Each one is a little bit different, so each one has a different kind of focus for that period of time prior to falling asleep. It's very intentional, very clear. We're taking a lot of time to design precisely the timing of it, so it's a 15-minute sort of journey into real rest.
Love it. I love it. And like I said at the very beginning, which is the absolute truth, just listening to Elena's voice just automatically puts me in a more peaceful state, and it will to anybody who's listening. I had another question for you. I loved your Instagram post about inconceivable love, and it was the one that was about, you know, approaching what you called surprise. It wasn't you, but it was a quote from, I think, a Buddha. Um, Approaching surprises with, instead of thinking of things as distractions, and I don't have it in front of me, but thinking of when surprises happen in our life, welcoming them, and open, just welcoming versus thinking of this, the mindset of, which I do all the time. I'm totally admitting, like, wait a second, this is not how I planned the day. Like, this is not how I planned this to be. And I loved, like, I printed off that post because it was just, I love the words of it. I love the teaching. Instead of thinking of the, wait a second, this isn't the way it's supposed to go, welcoming as a surprise. It's like, well, you know what? Let's look at this as the, being open-hearted, open-minded. And I just wanted to hear, since I would, with you, your thought on that concept in general, and if you have any other wisdom to share about it, because I just really, it resonated with me.
Right. So, what resonated with you is a very ancient, thousands of years old teaching, way older than any of us, which is impermanence. And to realize that the only thing that is guaranteed in this life is your death and that things will change. That's it. Sitting has helped me wrap my mind around my own death, the death of my child, the death of my partner, the death of both of my parents, and to become accustomed to any day this could happen. So how am I living today? It's not next week or next month. It could happen any moment. Everything is always going to change. And if you can get used to that and just welcome the next one as a very special visitor, some sort of amplification of what you know, you'll be okay.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. I do not want the sunlight and spotlight to end. I have like one or two more questions, and I also want to make sure, like, if there's anything that on your mind and your heart that you want to share. But um, on the sunlight and spotlight, since you are, such a sauna advocate,
Yes.
any tips, advice for people who aren't, and they also don't do meditation, as far as, how your habits, how you do it, your protocol?
Mhm. I do. I have a very specific protocol. I get on my robe and my vest because I have to walk outside to get to mine, which is down in another part of the house. I get a bottle of water, at least a couple of different essential oils, usually my balance blend, which has some trees and some flowers in it, and it's already diluted, and usually some frankincense as well, which is easy to use on the skin without needing to dilute it because I don't want to add too many steps. Go down there. If it's nighttime, I have to bring a light with me. Settle in. I usually set up for the detox program. You know, when you click all the way on the left side, the health programs. Health detox program is really great for me. The pain relief program I also love and sometimes run it twice. I made myself EB meditation program, which is all three. What do we want to call them? Valences, spectrums, all three, near, far, and mid infrared, for 40 minutes max, like just maxed out. And sometimes I do cardio. There's hard stuff in my family. I will sit, I will drink my water, I will apply my essential oils to the soles of my feet and to my chest. I will meditate and breathe, and I will rest. Sometimes I will read a book, but mostly I meditate, breathe, and rest. And my little secret is that I have not yet hooked up the Wi-Fi or the speakers at all because I actually prefer that to be a sound-free zone. And that's how I work with it. I really enjoy when I get to super sweaty. I always have a little, I made myself like a little hotel spa style situation where just outside of the sauna, I have a little bench and I have several different Turkish towels rolled up. So there's always a towel I can put under my seat. I can put under my head if I'm lying down. I can wrap myself up in it. And it's so nice to have that little pile of towels there. And I always replenish it when I go down in between my sessions, I replenish the towel pile. It's very cute. If you saw me doing all of this, you would laugh and you would find it really, really dorky. And but I really love my routine. I always feel better. I always look more refreshed afterwards. And know that's not a goal here, but so much release happens in that sauna, even on the lower settings when I do, say, cardio or pain relief, when it's not so hot, not so long. Even then, I still have that really true glow about my skin afterwards that I really appreciate, frankly.
Yeah, and I think it does matter when you look at yourself in the mirror if you're happy with what you see, right? And if you see afterwards, somebody who is refreshed and
Mhm.
glowing,
Yeah.
that makes you wanna do it again, you know? So,
Mhm.
back to the beginning part of the conversation when you talked about how when you've, um, learned about how you have benefited from from menopause using the sauna?
Right.
Can you share a little bit about that?
Yes, I can. Um, what I in my own experience, I'm about 9 months in to menopause, which means I just haven't had a cycle in 9 months. I find that the sauna actually helps me mitigate the night sweats, which I was having for a long time, and now that I'm doing sauna regularly, at least 3 to 5 times a week, I don't have them. I'm doing other things too, other supplements, a beautiful collagen supplement from doTERRA called MetaPower, that seems to be helping as well, but all these things in conjunction, including the sauna, has given me a very smooth ride into menopause that I wasn't expecting. So, I'm not a doctor, but I can tell you from personal experience that sweating in the sauna, and it's not a huge sweat, as you probably know if you're watching us and you're even remotely interested in infrared sauna, it's a slow, steady lift of of your internal temperature. Um, Everything helps. I feel like it's clearing me out. I feel like there are hormone balancing actions in my body chemically. Um, I can't say enough about it, frankly. And it's why I agreed to do this, to work with you guys and to share the benefits of the sauna because I found it to be so beneficial to me for the last couple of years, and especially now in menopause.
That is extremely helpful, and I know there's gonna be so many people that with just what you said resonates with them because we get so many questions from people, and they're struggling, and they just want, they want some hope
Mm, mm,
that, there is a solution for them, that they can have a
yes,
smooth, journey. And
yes,
so your story is inspirational and very helpful, and thank you so much for sharing. I
of
do want
course.
to build on what you said as far as the three wavelengths, just for listeners, about um, Sunlighten's products. There's
Yes.
Impulse, which is what Elena was talking about, that has 6 different programs.
Mhm,
That's what I use in my home. It's behind me. It delivers near infrared, mid infrared, and far infrared, all independently and separately. We don't have time today to talk about all of the value of each wavelength, but there is unique value to each wavelength, as well as blending them together. And that is the one that does have a slow, steady, like, connection with the cells, as far as with the heat, when it comes to the heat experience. We
mhm,
do have a couple other products. If you like that feeling of really intense heat, it's something that Sunlighten brought to market several years ago that didn't used to previously be on the market in the infrared world. And so we did bring a product to market that does provide our patented technology with a hotter experience, if that's something that you're interested in. So I just wanted to mention that. If somebody's like, "Well, I don't want a slow, steady, I don't," that's what I prefer, and I really, for many reasons, which we can talk about a different time, but we do have a product that we designed for somebody who wants, heat. So
got
as
it.
we wrap it up, I wanna mention one thing. I wanna make sure anybody who is listening, all the Elena Brower fans out there, we do have a special offer for anybody who mentions Elena, so please make sure and do that. I know you can, save some money during the holiday season. So remember Elena Brower when you're coming to us, and say that, you heard from Elena. And then also, is there anything else that we haven't covered, that you want to make sure listeners hear before we sign off?
No, I think we're good. I think we've covered it all, and I'm just really happy to continue our relationship here. I feel like the sauna is nothing but beneficial. I saved up for mine for a long time, and I'm really, really happy that I invested in my health in this way.
Yay. Well, I can't wait to hear your voice on glow.com.
Mm,
So definitely, like, I am going to do that, and I encourage everybody else. You will be hooked, and you will do something good for yourself,
yes.
because people don't schedule in time for themselves. Like she said, she scheduled in time for everybody else, myself included. But have adapted into the morning aspect, and that is my time for myself. And even if I can only do a small amount, that's my number one tip. So many
Mm,
times people don't work out, they don't do things because they don't have the 30 minutes or 45 minutes, whatever the chunk is. I find that even if you can just do 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever you have time for, you're doing something really good and valuable for yourself. And when you do that, the domino effect is endless. So
yeah.
thank you, Elena, so much for your,
Oh,
beautiful, mindful approach, your support, and your gift to everybody for 7 days free with glow.com. And thank you to everyone listening, and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much.